Amy took a deep breath. The noise around her seemed to disappear. The screaming customers. The crashing rain outside. The panic. Everything faded into the background. Only the man lying on the floor mattered now. She quickly remembered her training. Years of studying nursing textbooks. Years of first aid courses. Years of dreaming about a future she still hadn't reached. For the first time in her life, all that knowledge was about to be tested. Amy knelt beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" The man's eyes fluttered. Barely. His breathing was weak. Dangerously weak. Someone nearby was already speaking with emergency services. "They're on their way," a customer shouted. Amy nodded without looking up. Every second felt precious. Minutes later, sirens echoed through the rainy streets. Paramedics rushed inside. The cafe was immediately transformed into a scene of controlled chaos. Equipment appeared. Questions were asked. Monitors beeped. The man was placed on a stretcher. Before they carried him away, one of the paramedics looked directly at Amy. "You helped keep him stable." Amy swallowed nervously. "I just did what I could." The paramedic gave her a small smile. Sometimes that's the difference between life and death. Those words stayed with her long after the ambulance disappeared into the storm. That night, Amy barely slept. She kept replaying the scene in her mind. The man's pale face. The fear in the room. The uncertainty. Part of her wondered if he had survived. Part of her worried she had missed something. The next morning, she returned to work. The world, as always, continued moving. Customers ordered coffee. Plates needed washing. Bills needed paying. No one seemed to know what had happened. Or care. 3 days passed. Then something unusual happened. A black luxury sedan stopped outside the cafe. Every employee noticed immediately. People like that rarely visited Riverside Cafe. A man in an expensive suit stepped out. Then another. Then another. The entire cafe fell silent. The 3 men entered and looked around the room. Finally, one of them approached Amy. "Miss Carter." Amy froze. "Yes." The man smiled politely. "Someone would like to speak with you." Confused, Amy followed them outside. The black sedan's rear door opened. And sitting inside was the elderly man from the cafe. Alive. Healthy. Smiling. Amy's eyes widened. "Oh my God." The man laughed softly. "It's good to see you too." Relief washed over her. She hadn't realized how worried she had been until that moment. "You survived. Thanks to you." Amy immediately shook her head. "The paramedics saved you." The man studied her for a moment. "No. They told me what happened." He paused. "They told me what you did before they arrived." Amy didn't know what to say. The man extended his hand. "My name is Richard Bennett." The name meant nothing to her. But it clearly meant something to everyone else. The suited men exchanged glances. The cafe manager, watching through the window, suddenly looked like he might faint. Amy noticed. Richard noticed too. And he smiled. "You don't know who I am, do you?" She hesitated. "No, sir." For a moment, Richard seemed delighted by her answer. "That's refreshing." One of the men beside him chuckled. Richard Bennett was the founder of Bennett Technologies, a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His name regularly appeared in business magazines, news interviews, financial reports. Yet Amy had never heard of him. Because unlike most people, she didn't spend her evenings reading about wealthy executives. She spent them studying anatomy and medical terminology. Richard seemed fascinated by that fact. For nearly 20 minutes they talked. Really talked. Not the polite conversation customers usually offered. A real conversation. He asked about her life, her family, her goals, her dreams. And eventually he asked a simple question. "What would you be doing right now if money wasn't a problem?" Amy answered immediately. "Nursing school." Richard smiled. No hesitation. No uncertainty. "I thought so." Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. Not every day. Not every week. But often enough. He always sat near the window, always ordered black coffee, always left generous tips. More importantly, he treated Amy like a human being, something surprisingly rare. The two developed an unlikely friendship. Employees began joking that Amy had somehow adopted a millionaire grandfather. Neither of them corrected the joke. One afternoon, Richard asked a question. "How much longer until nursing school?" Amy looked down. "Probably another 4 years." Richard frowned. "4? I have tuition saved for only the first semester." His expression changed. Not pity. Disappointment. As though the world itself had somehow failed. "You deserve better." Amy smiled. "Maybe." Richard leaned back in his chair. "No." His voice was firm. "Definitely." Weeks later, Christmas arrived. The city sparkled with lights. The cafe was busier than ever. Customers came and went all day. Amy barely had time to breathe. When her shift finally ended, she found a small envelope waiting in her locker. No name, no explanation, just an envelope. Curious, she opened it. Inside was a handwritten card and a single document. Amy read the first line, then read it again. Her hands began to shake. The paper was real. Impossible. Life-changing. A full nursing school scholarship. Completely paid. Every semester. Every fee. Every textbook. Every expense. Tears filled her eyes. At the bottom of the card was a single sentence. No signature. No company logo. Just 7 words. Kindness always finds its way home. Amy immediately knew who had sent it. But when she tried calling Richard, nobody answered. And when she arrived at the cafe the next morning, Richard wasn't there. Or the next day. Or the next week. Then a month passed. And Amy received devastating news. Richard Bennett had disappeared. To be continued.